What's going on? Welcome into A to Z Sports on a Titans Tuesday. We got a lot to talk about as the Titans have done one thing to start this offseason, and that is hire Rand Carthon as their brand new general manager. Now they got bigger fish to fry. They got to go find their new offensive coordinator after they fired Todd Downing at the end of this past season after losing 7 straight games, and it was in the bottom 3 in offensive performance. So tough scene right there. They're trying to change the scene. We're going to talk about the offensive coordinator search and one quality that you look for the Titans' next offensive coordinator, and then one thing that you don't want to see, because the Titans fans have been through a couple of different offensive coordinators, some good, some bad. Terry Robisky, bad. Arthur Smith, good. Todd Downing, bad. Matt LaFleur, I think I'm indifferent when he was actually a Titans offensive coordinator. When he got Aaron Rodgers, he's done pretty good. Struggled this past year and lost to the Lions, but a lot to get into, plus sports trivia. Sam, 2 questions. Are you big into bodybuilding?
I wouldn't say I'm big into bodybuilding. I'm probably more knowledgeable than like average.
Okay. All right. Then we can use that. We got bodybuilding trivia today. And then also, are you big into Batman?
No. See, that's a weakness of mine. I'll do my best, but yeah, that is a weakness of mine. I've seen a couple of the movies, but
all right. So look, hey, we got maybe bodybuilding, maybe a strength, and Batman may be a weakness. That's okay. That's why we play sports trivia. That's
why we ask the questions, Zach. That's
exactly.
Why we ask the questions.
The tough questions. I'm sure we got people in the chat that know maybe something about bodybuilding, maybe something about Batman. So a big show on the horizon today on this Tuesday. Sam, tell the fine folks what to do at home.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are going to need to help me out on the Batman questions. And I need you to help me out right here by sharing the show before we get going. If you're watching on Facebook, go ahead and hit the share button. If you're watching on YouTube, go send it to a friend. Retweet on Twitter at A to Z Sports. However it is you consume our show, however you're watching this morning, make sure you're hitting the share button, getting it out there in front of as many other Titans fans as possible. That is the best way to support this morning's conversation before we get going.
Yep, that's exactly right. Well, let's officially get going. Welcome into A to Z Sports. I am Zach Bingham. He is our Titans reporter, Sam Phelan, and this is A to Z Sports. We are powered by BetMGM. We love BetMGM. They power our show, our title sponsor. You can download the app today in your Apple or Android store. Use that promo code ATOZ200 or ATOZ Sports. We'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later on in the show. Also, got to thank our presenting sponsors, which include Wilson County Hyundai. WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Your perfect make and model is right around the corner for a new car or SUV. Also, Farm Bureau Health Plans, FBHP.com/A to Z. I've switched to Farm Bureau Health Plans. You should switch to Farm Bureau Health Plans. Better coverage, better rates, better service. That's FBHP.com/ATOZ. The Bone and Joint Institute. Don't fumble on your recovery. The Bone and Joint Institute have you covered down there. State-of-the-art facility down there in Franklin. Satellite locations all across Middle Tennessee. If you are injured, you've gotten hurt. Look, I kind of tweaked my wrist last night playing a little, pickup basketball. It's not to the degree to go to Bone and Joint Institute, but you never know. You get banged up, working out and doing activities. The older you get, you'll realize that once you get.
I do that now. I do
right?
that.
So there you go. An old soul, right? I think you're an old soul a little bit with your movie knowledge, which I respect. And Hughes and Coleman. So if you do get injured in a car accident, maybe on a more serious note, you can go to the official injury lawyers of the Tennessee Titans and A to Z Sports Mornings. That's Hughes and Coleman right there. All right, Sam. We were talking this morning in our pre-show conversation. I don't think that the Titans are going to go back to Terry Robisky like they had back in the day, but the Patriots did, because the Patriots this morning hired their offensive coordinator. Talk about an old soul, Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien, former head coach of the Houston Texans, former offensive coordinator of the New England Patriots. So one OC is off of the board. But Sam, I'll let you take this away. There were some rumors swirling. I don't know if rumors, reports about the Titans before Rand Carthon got hired as general manager, or right around that time, of the Titans talking to some potential OC candidates?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Bill O'Brien. That was one of the original names I think Titans media, Titans fans, NFL media started to speculate about. We're like, okay, where is there a Mike Vrabel connection? But really, Zach, we have heard very few names that have like officially been connected to the Titans offensive coordinator opening. I believe last week, a little over a week ago, we finally got word on a couple of the candidates the Titans were looking at when it was reported that they were interviewing or requesting to interview Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy and Chiefs quarterback coach and former offensive coordinator Matt Nagy, who also served as the Chicago Bears head coach between 2018 and 2021. And then this from Josina Anderson, as we after we finally heard the rumors of the Matt Nagy and Eric Bieniemy interview request, she says, "I'm told the Titans' requests for Eric Bieniemy and senior assistant QB coach Matt Nagy are not recent. Interest was established over a week ago. I'm told Bieniemy is focused on head coaching opportunities, and Nagy has yet to confirm Tennessee's request, per a league source." So are they taking an interview? Are they not taking an interview? The Kansas City Chiefs are still playing football, which probably has an impact on the situation as well. But not a whole lot of drama or rumors yet on the Titans OC front. And the two names that we were connected to now maybe not even taking an interview with the Titans.
Yeah, it's probably, that's kind of eye-opening in the sense of what the timing of that was. And then also the names. You have Eric Bieniemy, who has been, I feel like, on the tip of everybody's tongue the last couple of years because of the success of the Kansas City Chiefs hosting their 5th straight AFC Championship game. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. No, well, and I mean, it started with Matt Nagy, right? That culture. He was the offensive coordinator there through 2017. He took the Bears head coaching job. Eric Bieniemy steps in, and if I'm doing my math correctly, they haven't missed the AFC Championship game since Eric Bieniemy took over in that role. Matt Nagy back on staff now, and both of them have a track record. You'd assume Eric Bieniemy would be a head coaching candidate by now. Or
you would assume.
I'm not sure why he hasn't gotten a job yet.
Well, something's got to be it. And I always say this, I did get frustrated. I will say this. I always got frustrated every single year, when people would get upset of, because look, we talked about Rand Carthon and, the minorities getting, minority individuals getting higher up in the league with executive level and head coaching. Everybody started being upset about Eric Bieniemy because, as you said, year after year after year, the one thing that we don't know, which is unfair to just jump to conclusions, is you don't know how he interviews. Like we don't know what type of how he answers the questions. Can he lead a team? Does he have that torch bearing, thing in him? It takes a certain person to be a leader, and especially a leader of a team, right? Trying to win. We've seen many try and we've seen many fail. So I always thought that was unwarranted in the last several years. He was getting these opportunities, but nobody knows the ins and outs. It's the same thing that goes with the Tennessee Titans GM search. We weren't a part of any of those conversations. We don't know why Rand Carthon was the best guy for the job in the eyes of Amy Adams Strunk and the Titans ownership group. So I always hesitate to jump to conclusions on the why, but he's been tried over and over and over again and has not gotten a job. There has to be a reason for that. And then you've got Matt Nagy that had that first year in Chicago, as you know, Sam, being from Chicago area. What a wild way to start, the Mitch Trubisky kind of era in that sense of how well he played that year, and then double doink, bye both, right? Nagy and Trubisky are a dust in the wind, back in the day. I'll ask you this based on your knowledge of Nagy. What was Nagy's issue? Like, what did you see? Yeah. And the Bears grumblings, you get tired of losing football games, but why did he get fired in the end?
Well, I mean, the Nagy situation was really, really interesting because of what you said. NFL Coach of the Year as a first-year head coach in 2018. The Bears go 12-4. They lose on the double doink. It hurts, but you assume, okay, they're building something here. And that just seemed to spiral out of control where they were really never able to have another season or repeat that success. And ultimately, what it came down to for me, assessing Matt Nagy, feeling like the consensus from the organization, he was very stubborn in the way that he called his scheme for the players on the roster. It's no secret Matt Nagy did not draft Mitchell Trubisky. He was drafted the year before Matt Nagy got there. Matt Nagy was a part of the Kansas City Chiefs. He was the offensive coordinator that drafted Patrick Mahomes. So you ended up giving him the quarterback that he didn't want out of that draft class. And I felt like Matt Nagy really called his offense like he was calling it for Patrick Mahomes, like he was calling it for Deshaun Watson, not like he had Mitchell Trubisky in his offense. So there was a disconnect between his level of stubbornness of like, well, this is what I'm going to do. This is what works. Let's find guys that make it work. And the offensive coordinators and the head coaches that will show you who are my players, how can I help them? And I think there's a big difference there, and something that at least the first time around of having play calling duties with the Bears, Matt Nagy did not do very well.
Yeah, well, and you look at the graphic, and Matt Nagy yet to confirm Tennessee's request. So that was, a handful of days ago. We don't know where that has gotten to. The Titans shifted their attention in introducing their new general manager over the weekend. So, the search is on, and this is kind of where it leads us to now. Mike Vrabel, during Ran Carthon's introductory press conference on Friday, took questions, some good questions, some bad questions, and some of the questions had to do with the offensive coordinator search. And so we will hear Mike Vrabel talk about what he's looking for in the offensive coordinator to be hired at a later date. You got to replace Todd Downing. Before we listen to Mike Vrabel, I am going to tell everybody about the Bone and Joint Institute. The Bone and Joint Institute right there in Franklin, Tennessee. I've had my shoulder fixed right there. I had a torn labrum, bam, fixed by Dr. Paul Thomas down there, one of the many specialists that they have at the Bone and Joint Institute. Satellite locations all across Middle Tennessee. Down in Franklin, Tennessee, they have the state-of-their-art facility. You see there at the graphic at the bottom of your screen. It is sleek. It is very, very nice. It has everything that they need to take care of you. So don't fumble on your recovery. If you've tweaked your ankle, you've got an old injury, maybe back in high school or college for playing sports, and maybe you need to go, get it checked out. That's the Bone and Joint Institute right down there in Franklin, Tennessee.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM. Sign up with the sign-up code ATOZ200 on the BetMGM app or BetMGM.com. You can place a $10 pregame wager on any NBA team. Yes, switching it up, NBA team to win. And with that first bet, you get $200 as long as there is a three-pointer scored in the game, regardless of your bet's outcome. Name an NBA game that doesn't have a three-pointer scored in today's NBA. So it's basically a free $200. They just need to make a three-pointer, and you have to use code ATOZ200 on BetMGM app when you place a $10 pregame wager on any NBA team.
A to Z Sports powered by BetMGM right there. Let's swing it on over to Vrabel at Ran Carthon's introductory press conference. He was asked about what qualities he's looking for in the new offensive coordinator that they're still waiting to hire. This was Mike Vrabel's response.
What are the things that you're looking for, the qualities you're looking for in your next offensive coordinator?
Well, I mean, again, if you hear me talk, it's about guys that can lead and make a connection with their coaching staff, with the players, that have some level of multiplicity, that can, figure out ways to run the football, whether you run and you use the quarterback, or whether it's an outside zone, whether it's gap scheme. Like, I got it. I've sat in a lot of different meetings. I got all the different schemes. I want to make sure that, we find a few that we like. Would hope that we can teach the players and that they can understand and they can have the confidence to go and do their job. somebody that, we got to score some points. We've been efficient. One thing we have been in around here is efficient in the red zone. That hasn't changed no matter who was running the offense. But we just have to get down there more often. You've heard me say that. So if we can continue to be efficient and looking at how we have created those game plans and what we've done to prepare in that regard, if finding a way to translate that to our first and second down and still staying efficient in the red zone and scoring points and protecting the quarterback.
Score more points.
That's pretty simple enough, right?
Profound, I think. I mean, so here's a question for you, Sam. Do you know how many points the Titans averaged in the year 2022 offensively?
Oh, per game? See,
Yeah.
I know it was very sad. Like, I want to say less than 5 points per game in the second half of their games combined. I will go, what's a general low end? 17.8.
Oh, man, you were close. You were close.
What is it?
17.5.
Hey, okay. Pretty close. Okay.
Now, here's the sad part. The Tennessee Titans averaged 17.5 points per game, and right around the company of the Los Angeles Rams, the New York Jets, the Indianapolis Colts, the Houston Texans, and the Denver Broncos, who averaged the least amount of points, 16.9. All of those teams right there around 17 points per game. All of those teams, non-playoff teams. A lot of those teams picking in the top 10. Denver obviously is not because they traded away their pick to Seattle, but not a good look. Score more points. The Titans were atrocious at scoring. And look, it, just like anything is, Mike Vrabel was not trying to point out the blemishes. He was trying to point out like the nice feature, which was red zone, right?
Yeah.
Like, she, it's not very good looking, but she got well-groomed eyebrows. That's kind of that's kind of what Mike Vrabel was trying to say. This team scored 17.5 points per game. Something has got to change in a big way, and they've got to go hire an offensive coordinator that can help this offense in a much better way than Todd Downing was able to do.
Yeah, you can be efficient in the red zone all you want. It doesn't matter if you're making 1, maybe 2 red zone trips every game and can't get there in the second half. But that was the Titans offense. And they were good in the red zone, especially early on. They were not great in the red zone late in the season. Once they stopped being able to run the ball in their offensive line, got a little banged up, and we had that series of games where Derrick Henry just had nowhere to go. Their red zone offense went with it. Being able to run the ball down there was so important to this team because they didn't have the A.J. Brown jump ball kind of guy in their offense to throw the ball in a tightened up field. So, yeah, you have to find an offensive coordinator that's going to get you into drives with more regularity. I think the more embarrassing stat of this Titans offense would probably be the yards that they averaged in the second half of games. I don't have it up in front of me, but I know there was a lot of drives, Zach, that we're looking at 3 plays, -4 yards and a punt, 3 plays, -3 yards and a punt. And that was the story of the second half. It was pulling hair out, pulling teeth out, trying to watch them get into drives. And they would stand there and say, well, we're not executing well enough. But their game planning wasn't good enough either. And it wasn't all season, and everybody saw it. And the Titans didn't make enough changes. So now they have to find somebody who will.
So we'll hear Vrabel one more time and ask a question to the chat and get them involved, because I do think we've got a good question today. I was looking at some of this points per game statistics. The Kansas City Chiefs, the Philadelphia Eagles, the San Francisco 49ers, and the Cincinnati Bengals all averaged above 26.1 points.
Yeah,
That's your bar. If you're going to – we talked yesterday about this run first mentality. It ain't going to win you a Super Bowl. It's not. Because to win you a Super Bowl, you need to score points. You need to score 26.1 points per game or greater. And, the Chiefs averaged 29. They led the league. That's what you have to do. And the Titans are so far away from that you're not going to get into 4 consecutive games in the playoffs that are low scoring affairs. Eventually, you're going to have to score and keep up with a talented offense like the 4 that we're talking about. Like the Cowboys in the 49ers game, yeah, that went down. That was an under 20-point game for each individual team. But all the other games, they're scoring points. You got to be able to put points up on the board. So that was something that I did agree with Vrabel. So how are you going to fix it? Well, here's a question that we are going to ask you. Then we'll hear Vrabel one more time. What is one quality that you want to see in the Titans' next offensive coordinator? What is one quality that you want to see in the next Titans offensive coordinator? We are going to read your comments. But first, I am going to tell people about Farm Bureau Health Plans, FBHP.com, health, dental, and vision, 200 plus locations across the state of Tennessee. Farm Bureau Health Plans of Tennessee can help you just like they help me. Man, they are great. I switched at the beginning of 2022, and after 2022, I rolled it over to 2023. I took a quick health assessment. It took me about 20 minutes. They asked me a bunch of questions. I answered them openly and honestly. And once I did that, I got a quote, and I realized, wow, I got a much better plan than my previous plan at a much better rate. My cost, I saved 20% on Farm Bureau Health Plans, and they helped me throughout 2022. Whether you're going to a walk-in clinic, whether it is a teledoc conference, things happen, and you want to make sure that you have a plan that helps you. That's FBHP.com/ATOZ.
Want to tell you guys about BetMGM because BetMGM is the king of sportsbooks. And if you sign up with the code ATOZ200 and place a $10 pregame wager on any NBA team to win their game with your first bet, you get $200 when a three-pointer is made in the game. That's your first bet with sign-up code ATOZ200. Place $10 on any NBA team to win, and regardless of the bet's outcome, regardless if that team wins or not, you get $200 as long as there is a three-pointer made in that game. So go to BetMGM.com, go to the BetMGM app, and use that sign-up code ATOZ200.
All right, before we get to the chat, we have asked you guys one question, and that question is, what is one quality you want to see in the Titans the next offensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans? Mike Vrabel was asked that at Rand Carthon's introductory press conference. Here's how he answered it.
What are the things that you're looking for, the qualities you're looking for in your next offensive coordinator?
Well, again, if you hear me talk, it's about guys that can lead and make a connection with their coaching staff, with the players, that have some level of multiplicity, that can, figure out ways to run the football, whether you run and you use the quarterback, or whether it's an outside zone, whether it's gap scheme. Like, I got it. I've sat in a lot of different meetings. I got all the different schemes. I want to make sure that, we find a few that we like. Would hope that we can teach the players and that they can understand and they can have the confidence to go and do their job. Somebody that, we got to score some points. We've been efficient. One thing we have been in around here is efficient in the red zone. That hasn't changed no matter who was running the offense. But we just have to get down there more often. You've heard me say that. So if we can continue to be efficient and looking at how we have created those game plans and what we've done to prepare in that regard, if finding a way to translate that to our first and second down, and still staying efficient in the red zone and scoring points and protecting the quarterback.
There you go. Yep. Couple things of note, Zach. Number one, why are we looking for an offensive coordinator that can run the ball? We'll get into it, but that's what the Titans have done well over the past however many years of this Mike Vrabel, Derrick Henry era. They might need to try something different than looking for somebody who can run the ball. But the question, as you mentioned, what is one quality you want to see in the Titans' next offensive coordinator? I'll go to the chat real quick. Make sure I can run down some of these. Jared says balance. Timothy says creativity. Sky says dynamicism. Oh, that's a big word. Willie K says creativity. Demario says balance and creativity. CJ, efficiency. Steven says big brain. This Steven says less stubbornness. A feel for the game from Jordan. Innovation from Donald. I like that word from Donald right there. Jay says creativity. We got creative from Tighten Up as well. Adaptability from Brian. Scoring from Denise. She's taking the Mike Vrabel approach. I just want to see some points go on the board.
It's a good answer.
We got more passes from Clint. Innovative from Stefan. Pass success, I'm assuming, or past success is what Mr. Jones wants to see. Someone with a bit of a resume. Competency from Chris Baldwin. Consistency from Amber. Zach, what is the one thing for you? I guess we should have clarified, but either as the Titans offensive coordinator or on the resume of the Titans offensive coordinator candidate that they hire that you want to see from whoever the Titans end up choosing?
Getting the playmakers involved. That's one thing Todd Downing failed at miserably. I want to see this offensive coordinator get the Titans playmakers involved. Whoever the playmakers are. If it's Traylon Burks, it's Traylon Burks. If it's Chig, it's Chig. If it's Robert Woods and he's still around, Bobby Please, then it's Bobby Please. But getting the playmakers involved, it was malpractice, the lack of targets that Chig Okonkwo got after finding out what Chig Okonkwo can do. Baffling.
Over 14 yards per catch, right?
Baffling.
14 yards per catch, had big playability, and yet that's what we heard basically every week. We'd ask Todd Downing in the press conferences, well, what are you gonna, try to get Chig more involved, Traylon more involved? He said, yep, would love to get those guys involved, big plays. And we didn't see it. We never really saw it. We might see it on the first play or second play of the game and some early efforts there, but they would disappear and the targets would disappear. And you saw late in the game, I guess some of that might have been what the offense looked like with Malik Willis as the quarterback for a few weeks. But you saw with Josh Dobbs in Jacksonville what Austin Hooper and what Chig can be when you have a guy going through his progressions, and those are the playmakers that he's targeting. I agree with you a lot. Absolutely.
You got to find the play, and that's what. Let's take a look at the four teams left. Let's take a look at the Cincinnati Bengals, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the San Francisco 49ers. Those teams get their playmakers involved so well. Unbelievably well.
I would say look at the teams that made the playoffs. Just made the playoffs. Jacksonville went out and gave Christian Kirk a $100 million contract or whatever he got. And in that game against the Chargers in the playoffs, guess who was coming through to save him late? Christian Kirk making plays downfield. Now, we're not going to mention the drop that he had downfield against the Kansas City Chiefs. But look at the Chargers. They're throwing to Austin Eckler more times than any other running back. They get him involved. He had close to 20 touchdowns this year because they know where their playmakers are. They recognized, hey, we have some wide receivers that are either banged up or unavailable, but this guy can change games in multiple facets, right, with his pass catching ability and his running ability. And they got him involved. They made him the focal point of the offense, and it makes Justin Herbert's job a lot easier. So I would go even deeper than saying, look at the teams that are left. Yeah, they obviously do it better than everybody else, but these teams that just made the playoffs and consistently make the playoffs have a way of finding their best players, and it's what makes the game look so easy for other teams offensively.
And what it does indirectly is it helps Derrick Henry. That's what you're trying to do. You're helping Derrick Henry at the end of the day, because your playmakers around Derrick Henry, if they're getting targets, that means that Derrick Henry has to do less. And over the next several years, Derrick Henry will have to do less in his running back career, or it won't be as long as it needs to be. Noah gives you some lunch money here real quick. Keeping the Titans out of late and long downs, too often Todd Downing would put the Titans behind the eight ball to start a drive or just kill a drive by running twice on first and second down. And look, that is the truth. Todd Downing was a problem. We all know that, right? that's something that, you're not going to get, I don't think, the same type of mentality that Todd Downing has. You've got to come in here. Maybe you have some of the same pieces. Sam, here's the biggest question mark, and we're just kind of generalizing what this question is. We don't know if they're going to keep Ryan Tannehill or if they're going to trade for some other quarterback. We don't know if Robert Woods and Austin Hooper will even be on the roster, right? We don't know what the offensive line will be. Those are some huge questions this offseason that will be answered. But the good thing is that a new offensive coordinator is on the horizon, whoever it is.
Yeah, I think that's one of the more interesting things about this offseason, right? You bring in the new GM, you have the head coach talking about wanting to be collaborative with the GM and have his say, and you've got the new GM saying, well, I'm going to prioritize my head coach and what he needs for his scheme fits and not just grabbing talent. And you still don't know who's your quarterback, who's your offensive line, who's your biggest playmaker, who's your offensive coordinator. So there's a lot of unknowns with the Titans right now that Ran Carthon and Mike Vrabel are going to have to get together, figure out what direction they want to go, because I think they can go a number of directions, and who they hire either will be impacted by who's at quarterback, or who is at quarterback will be impacted by who they hire. Either way, these things go together, and the Titans need to make sure they are, in fact, collaborating, in sync, and that the identity of the personnel on the roster goes along with the scheme of whoever your new offensive coordinator is. And we'll get to Philip right here before I give you my characteristic I want to see. He wants the offensive coordinator to be aggressive, says don't have to change the run-first philosophy, but we need to change how we go about it. Both 49ers and Eagles are run-first offenses, but they use a lot of pre-snap motion and misdirection. I think another thing that's important too, Philip, is the 49ers and Eagles are both run-first offenses. The Eagles have a quarterback that makes them a dynamic running offense, and the 49ers use both Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, and Elijah Mitchell in the running game. So they have a number of weapons that they hand the ball off to. It's not as much one bell cow running back that they give the ball to 30 times a game and expect that to be their offensive identity. That's what the Titans have done, and it's what they do differently from some of these other top rushing offenses in the NFL.
Who's going to complement Derrick Henry? Is it going to be Treylon Burks? Is it going to be Chig? Is it going to be somebody that they draft this year in the first, second, or third round, right? Like, I don't think it's going to be Robert Woods. Robert Woods is just, I don't think that Robert Woods will be a Titan this coming year. I think they'll cut him, but he's not that type of piece. He's like a sub-complimentary piece. They're looking for a guy that would be a distraction for the defense. It's, oh no, Derrick Henry. Oh no, Derrick Henry. And then, oh no, whoever this piece is, who is going to come, whether it's jet sweeps, Philip talks about a lot of motion, and that is correct. Kyle Shanahan does a great job for the 49ers. The Eagles do a very good job. Now, the Eagles have the X factor of Jalen Hurts, right? So That is their complementary piece. It doesn't have to be the form of a backup running back. It can be the form of a different playmaker. Maybe it is Chig. But when Todd Downing doesn't give 85 the ball enough, 85 doesn't get the ball enough, and he doesn't make enough plays because he doesn't get the opportunity.
Well, I think it's interesting, too, because it can be a backup running back. And while we're talking about Ran Carthon, he told a story during the press conference. I wish I had pulled the video knowing Philip was going to bring up this point. But Ran Carthon talked about how he used analytics during his time in San Francisco to identify a running back that he felt was the best outside zone running back in the NFL draft that year, and said, he doesn't have some of these, everything else basically, but he does this one thing very, very well. And for our system, that's going to plug and play and translate. And they drafted Elijah Mitchell in the 6th round and have put themselves now where Elijah Mitchell is an impact player alongside Christian McCaffrey in their offense on a team contending for a Super Bowl title right now. So those are the types of decisions and pieces and players that you have to find. What can you do well? What do you want to do? And who does it well to complement the pieces you already have? But I'll give you mine real quick, Zach. My one quality I want to see in the Titans' next offensive coordinator, I have 2 words for it: acquiescence and flexibility. Those are my 2 things. I mentioned Matt Nagy and why I think a lot of Bears fans grew tired of Matt Nagy, why the Bears grew tired of Matt Nagy was his stubbornness to his scheme, like regardless of what personnel was saying around him. I felt that same way about Todd Downing this past year. I felt that same way about Mike Vrabel at times, and this Titans run first mentality that we keep talking about, where it's, well, we're going to give the ball to Derek 35 times. And I'm looking up saying, well, Derek has nowhere to run behind this offensive line. So maybe we need to figure out another strategy to get the ball to Treylon, to Woods, to Chig. Or maybe we need to use a different running back or use it, whatever it is, to switch things up. And the Titans failed to do that this year. So whoever the next offensive coordinator is, I want somebody coming in that is not stubborn and tied to one particular way of doing things. I think you can succeed in many areas and by doing many different things in the National Football League. And on top of that, I don't think you can succeed by having just one pure, simple identity. You have to be good and balanced. And if you don't prioritize adding another dynamic to your offensive game plan, I don't think anything's going to change. So that would be my biggest criteria that I look for if I'm assessing offensive coordinator candidates.
Something that Nagy brings, and look, I kind of agree with Brian says Nagy would be a great fit, Sam. I'll tell you why I do think that could be the case, maybe for a different reason. But then I also think Devin is right. I don't think that Matt Nagy is going to be the offensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans. Here's the reason why that a Nagy type of guy would be good for the Titans that they have to think about. Sam, they have a defensive-minded head coach. They're going to have to get an offensive coordinator that's going to be here for a couple of years, not just 1 year and gone. You don't want to be back in the same spot. I do think a benefit of Nagy being fired as a head coach probably gives some pause to teams right out of the gate just to hire him after a year of success, right? So there's some stability. Today we see the hot young new hires. That's what you're looking for. Matt Nagy is no longer a young, hot, new hire as a head coach. So you need somebody that is not going to get plucked. You got to take that into consideration. Mike Vrabel and Rand Carthon have got to think about that. They've got to help Mike Vrabel for the next couple of years and go after it, if that is in fact what they're going to do. Because if they sit there and acquiesce to a rebuild, then you're probably going to get and you eventually get better. That person that got you better is going to get another job.
Yeah. No, that's a good point, right? You want some stability, and they haven't had that over 2 years max, right? Like you went from Todd Downing from Arthur Smith, right? And there's been this revolving door. Let me give you something else. If you want to talk about why Matt Nagy might be a good fit, this stat that I pulled after this rumor was first put out there, and Eric Bieniemy and Matt Nagy were 2 names being tied to the Titans. Since 2016, the 2016 season, that is Derrick Henry's rookie year with the Titans, and that is Matt Nagy's first year as the Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator. He spent 2 years, and then Eric Bieniemy took over. But since that season, the Chiefs lead the NFL in passing attempts on first down in 1-score games. So in games that are relatively, this is basically a neutral game is how you would, put it into a category. 1-score games, they lead the NFL on passes on first downs. The Tennessee Titans, dead last in that span. So when you talk about this run, pass, run, pass, run, pass, it's not a last year thing. It's not a, just flash in the pan. Yeah, flash in the pan. That's the saying. Like, this is a trend now that has lasted 6 or 7 seasons, and the Kansas City Chiefs have made an identity. By the way, 16, 17, 18, well, 18, I guess he was, but 16, 17, Patrick Mahomes wasn't even starting. They were using Alex Smith in that offense, and they were still leading the NFL in pass attempts on first down. So this is something Eric Bieniemy and Matt Nagy know how to do and value is let's drop back and pick up 6 or 7 yards through the air on first down, and maybe we can get even more and spark a drive pretty quickly, while the Titans have been content with just running the ball and doing this ride Derrick Henry on first down. So maybe this is the fit, because maybe this is what does bring some balance back to the Titans offense.
Yeah, and look, I think that we saw more of that in 2020 when Arthur Smith led the Titans offense to prolific records. I mean, that was
you saw it, right? Like,
and you saw first down because he utilized Derrick Henry as a threat without handing Derrick Henry the football. And that, I think, that's what you want. That's the genius that you want. And that's why ultimately Arthur Smith got a head coaching job. But when you have years like that, and I don't know how many more years Derrick Henry is going to be, a Tennessee Titan. I know he's under contract for one more year. After that, I have no idea. While you do have Derrick Henry, you've got to utilize his skill set better. And his skill set is not, it can be his presence. That's the unique part about Derrick Henry. His presence can be a skill set that you can utilize against defenses.
When you see the way that defenses play him, for sure. All right, I want to get into what we don't want to see. But before we get into that, I have a quick message. I want to tell you guys about Hughes and Coleman. Hughes and Coleman Injury Lawyers are the official injury lawyers of those Tennessee Titans. If you've been injured in a car wreck, you need to call Hughes and Coleman for your free case consultation with their phone number. Pretty easy phone number to remember. It's 800-800-4600. They have the resources to go fight insurance companies and get you every dollar that you deserve, that you might not have the resources to go and fight that fight yourself. So if you've been injured in a car wreck, you have to call them. Hughes and Coleman has recovered over $1 billion for their clients in Tennessee and Kentucky over the last 30 years. Free case consultation. That's 800-800-4600. Hughes and Coleman Injury Lawyers, Principal Office, Nashville, Tennessee.
BetMGM, that drives our show. That should drive you right to your phone and download the app. This is the best part about BetMGM. Sign up with the promo code ATOZ200. Place a $10 pregame wager on any NBA team to win with your first bet and get $200 when a three-pointer is made in the game, regardless of your bet's outcome. That is BetMGM. New users, ATOZ200. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 years or older in Tennessee. Only new customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualifications, eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable free bets on first site credit. Free bets expire 7 days from insurance. For problem gambling support, call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. All right, Sam, let's ask this next question. We asked, what was one quality that you want to see in the Titans' next offensive coordinator? What's one quality that you don't want to see in the Titans' next offensive coordinator? That, I think, Todd Downing, after his DUI, after the 7-game losing streak, after only averaging a close to league low 17.5 points per game all season, in an era of football where there's a lot of points scored, 17.5, what's going to happen? What are we going to do? What is the quality that you don't want?
Yeah, I kind of touched on it earlier, but I'm not going to repeat myself and say the same thing over again. So I wrote down this pretty simple. I don't want an in-house candidate. I don't want Tim Kelly, who has been kind of talked about as one of the top candidates. I don't want Luke Steckel, who I do believe would be a very good candidate someday and just interviewed for the Los Angeles Chargers offensive coordinator position. But the Titans need fresh blood. They need a new, fresh mindset, the same way they needed Rand Carthon to come in from an outside organization that is well run with success in scouting, in talent evaluation, and he brings that to the table. The Titans need to find somebody like that at offensive coordinator. They don't need to stick to the same approach that has not worked in the past 2 seasons, where it's stick with Derek on first down, what's our identity, or what Mike Vrabel said, who connects best with the players and who can lead. I want new ideas. I want a new way of looking at things and doing things. And I want somebody to come in here that has experience with the Kansas City Chiefs, has experience with the Los Angeles Chargers, has experience with the Cincinnati Bengals or Buffalo Bills. One of these top NFL offenses and top NFL quarterbacks, bring them to Nashville and see what they can do to bring some balance to this team.
They need a quarterback guru. They need somebody that can help the quarterback. And because one of two things. If it's Ryan Tannehill, they need to help Ryan Tannehill play like he was in 2020. They have to get that out of him. And look, you had a tough year with injuries and offensive line issues and, ankles and all that. But you need somebody that can help the quarterback play. And if it's not Ryan Tannehill, they need somebody that can help develop a young quarterback that you can go out there and compete with the likes of Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes, and Trevor Lawrence for that matter, because Trevor Lawrence grew up. Sam, I was talking about this actually last night. I was playing pickup basketball, and afterwards we were talking about, NFL football. And one of the things that we talked about is if the Titans beat the Bengals, are the Bengals the Bengals? Like, are they in back-to-back? They definitely aren't in back-to-back AFC championship games. But what kind of momentum and growth would they have stunted for the Bengals if they would have just led a drive? Ifs and buts, beer and nuts. I get it. But at the end of that game, Ryan Tannehill only needed to go get 3 points to win the game. Instead, he gave away the ball for the Bengals to get 3 points, 52-yard field goal. How much was that a factor in the Titans creating the Bengals? Now, Joe Burrow may have been and became what he is, but the Bengals grew up last year going to the Super Bowl. I'm afraid that Trevor Lawrence grew up by beating the Titans, then beating the Chargers, then getting into a very close game against the Chiefs which is not necessarily all Trevor Lawrence's fault. A fumble at the end of the game hurt them, right? That wasn't Trevor Lawrence's fault. But I look at that and, Jared says the Bengals game was not on Tannehill. I don't know what the hell you're smoking, Jared, because last year it was on Ryan Tannehill. He was the guy that threw 3 picks. So I look at that and I say the next offensive coordinator has to get the most out of the quarterback position, whoever the quarterback is.
Yeah. So to go off the Bengals comment, I do think there is something to that, because I think what you learn, I don't know if it's a confidence thing. I don't know what it is, but I think you learn how to weather the storm through big wins like that, because the Cincinnati Bengals were not supposed to be there last year. They found their way playing good football late in the season. They snuck in at 10-7 to get one of those wild cards. And then I believe, they were one of the wild cards. Or did they win the North? I don't know. But they beat the Raiders, and then they come to Nashville. They beat the Titans, and then they go to Arrowhead and they beat Kansas City. And they go on this run that now this year, Zach, the Bengals were in a similar spot this year. They were sitting around 500 at Thanksgiving. I just pulled up their schedule. They have not lost since November. Since the calendar turned into November.
You know what helped change their season?
A win over the Titans in Nashville again. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Who did they not have that game?
That is a team that knows how to weather the storm, stick to it, come out on top, and trust themselves. And I think that's what the Jaguars might have learned from this season as well. You go 9-8, you make the playoffs, you stick to it and win a big playoff game. You never counted yourself out of the division. And I think there's a growing confidence that now you know how to handle things when stuff hits the fan and isn't going as well. That's what I would say. In terms of the quarterback guru, my question for you, do you think – I think it depends on the quarterback. because I don't know if it helps to bring in a quarterback guru to deal with Ryan Tannehill in his current state at his current age. I think you could be just as effective bringing in somebody that can scheme wide receivers open, and Ryan Tannehill knows how to get the football to him. I mean, he does not have an issue reading the field. He does not have an issue making the right decisions. He doesn't have an issue with his accuracy. I think if you have a younger quarterback or a newer quarterback, you're trying to get acclimated to your scheme, then a QB guru helps. But do you think it depends who the quarterback is, the type of person that they should hire?
Well, the reason why I said QB guru is they've got to get more out of Tannehill because he has a lower ceiling than Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, those type quarterbacks. So for the Titans to win a Super Bowl, if that's what we're talking about, the offensive coordinator has got to squeeze every single ounce of juice out of Ryan Tannehill. That is the key. Ryan Tannehill, we've seen him. Look, everybody makes mistakes in the game of football, especially when you're the quarterback and you touch the ball every play. We've seen him make some boneheaded mistakes and not seeing the linebacker or throwing it into coverage where he didn't need to. Now, he doesn't do that on a consistent basis, but we have seen him do that. He's tough as nails. These are qualities that I'm not worried about, but he doesn't have the full skill set that some of these quarterbacks that are having massive success in the league have. A quarterback-driven offensive coordinator, I hope, would get it out of him. But same at the end of the day, I don't believe that Ryan Tannehill's the guy. So I say that as kind of in the future. This offensive coordinator has got to be able to help the next quarterback.
Do you feel like a quarterback guru, I guess this is my better way of phrasing my question, is the right archetype of offensive coordinator to get the most out of Ryan Tannehill? Because I think you don't need a QB guru or a QB first guy to get the most out of him. I think you just have to get him weapons and scheme his weapons open. Because I'm not worried about Ryan's decision-making or accuracy or toughness, like you said. So, like, I don't know how much more development there is in Ryan Tannehill that a QB-minded offensive coordinator would bring to the table as much as it is everything around him.
Here's my justification. A QB-minded offensive coordinator is going to trust their quarterback more than Todd Downing trusted their quarterback because he handed the ball off every damn play.
That's fair. That's a nice rebuttal. Okay, I'll take that. That's a nice rebuttal because I think we're on the same page with that. I think a lot of chat's on the same page too. They have to find a way to throw the ball more. Like you have to have more balance in your offense. You have to have multiple ways of winning a football game other than a 17-13 dogfight where you run for 200 yards. You have to find other ways to win a football game. They had one identity and one way of winning in 2022, and when it got taken away, so did their wins.
All right, let's talk about Wilson County Hyundai, but let's also get to sports trivia. Bodybuilding and Batman.
I'm ready. Chad's got to help me out, but I think we're going to do okay.
Bodybuilding and Batman, that's on the horizon. But first, Wilson County Hyundai, they're maybe on the horizon of your future. Quick trip down I-40, exit 236. Really quick trip. You go down there and you can test drive a Palisade, which is their full-size SUV with third-row seating. You can test drive the Sonata, which is a four-door sedan, the Elantra, the Tucson, the Santa Fe, the Ioniq, which is battery-powered. All those other vehicles are fuel-efficient. The Ioniq is battery-powered. You can test drive that. They've got a great deal for you. Your perfect make and model is at wilsoncountyhyundai.com.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM. BetMGM is the king of sports books, and right now you can sign up with code ATOZ200 and place a $10 pregame wager on any NBA team to win their game with your first bet. If you do that, as long as there is a three-pointer scored in the game, you get $200. So a three-pointer is scored in any NBA game that you bet on with a $10 bet. You get $200 with that promo code that's ATOZ200 on BetMGM.com and the BetMGM app, the king of sportsbooks.
All right, let's get to it. Man, that sports trivia sound hits.
That gets me going. That gets the blood pumping. I'm ready to do it.
Oh, you're going to need the blood pumping through those muscles because we got bodybuilding trivia. The professional designation for the sport of bodybuilding is the BBBI or the BBI, which is the Bodybuilding International, the WBBA, World Bodybuilding Association, the IFBB, International Federation of Bodybuilding and Fitness, the IAPB, the International Association of Professional Bodybuilding. The professional designation for the sport of bodybuilding is the BBI, the WBBA, the IFBB, or the IABB. That was tough. The WBBA,
Well,
World Bodybuilding Association.
we've got a lot of IFBB, International Federation of Bodybuilding. That's what the chat is saying. I agreed with Orlando. The WBBA sounds the best.
It does sound the best.
But IFBB, Austin Stanley in the chat coming in with the IFBB. Clayton's on IFBB. I guess I have to trust chat, right? We're getting an overwhelming, what'd you say? International Federation of Bodybuilding is what that is?
I got to find it again. The International Federation of Bodybuilding and Fitness.
That's insane, but I'm going to go with it.
You want to lock it in?
Yeah, final A to Z on IFBB.
Founded in 1946, the International Federation of Bodybuilding and Fitness in 2004 was renamed the International Federation of Bodybuilding and Fitness, but retained its IFBB abbreviation.
I love it. Good job, chat. Thank you for the help, everybody.
Ooh.
Yeah. I don't know why they
here's unique. An attempt was made to form the WBBA headed by Vince McMahon, but it didn't last.
Oh, see, Vince knows what he's doing. That sounds good. WBBA yeah. I support that one. It was right there. That one sounds so much better. Rolls off the tongue.
If one is taking anabolic steroids, growth hormone, and insulin, all of which increase muscle mass and performance, which one will not be detected by using current Olympic and IFBB testing standards? Growth hormone, anabolic steroids, and insulin, or growth hormone and insulin. So it's a combination of two.
So all three of them won't be detected as an option.
Which one will not be detected by using current Olympic and IFBB testing standards?
Yeah, process of elimination. Growth hormone and anabolics are both popping on a test. So I'm going to go with insulin as the one that would not be detected. That's an answer choice, right?
Yes, insulin is an answer choice.
Insulin, final A to Z.
Oh, wow. You're just locking this in.
I like... You can't tell me that growth hormone and anabolics aren't coming up on an Olympic test. That would be absurd.
I think you're a little too quick to the trigger. You got to look at the chat. You got to pay attention to the chat.
The chat is backing me here. I'm getting a lot of insulin.
Well, the chat's wrong, and so are you.
No.
Growth hormone and insulin will not be detected by current Olympic and IFBB testing standards. Growth hormone and insulin are very effective muscle building compounds.
Well, guess what? I think I might have to start my Olympic career. knowing that growth hormones allowed, I might have a shot after all. I'm going to get involved in like the shot put or something.
All right, we're 1-1. Bodybuilding part, Trey. The repetition range most associated with mass bodybuilding in the world of bodybuilding is 6 to 8, 10 to 15, 2 to 3, or 15 to 20. The repetition range most associated with mass building in the world of bodybuilding is 6 to 8, 10 to 15, 2 to 3, or 15 to 20. So repetition range.
Yeah. I know a lot
It's
less
not
about this.
15 to 20.
I know
That's
a lot.
way too much.
I know a lot less about this than I thought I did.
I think 6 to 8 makes the most sense.
I think it does too. 2 to 3. The only reason 2 to 3 is sticking in my mind is because 2 to 3 would be what you have to log to max. So
Yeah.
that would be the.
But this is repetition range.
But I've also learned that longer reps is less mass, more flexibility. Like people do more reps, not to bulk and gain mass. They do more reps to tone and maintain flexibility. So that's why 2 to 3 is in my head. I think 6 to 8 makes the most sense, but so did insulin.
What is the chat thinking?
They're split right now. We've got Eric's at 2 to 3, Rob's at 6 to 8, Titanium Titans at 6 to 8, Noah's at 6 to 8, Jake's at 6 to 8, Steven's 2 to 3, Mr. Jones is 2 to 3, Eric is 2 to 3, Harold and Devin are both 6 to 8. Although Harold's looking like somebody that I can trust right here.
I think,
man,
6 to 8 makes more sense.
it does make more sense. It's just
repetition range.
This is it right here. This is what I'm thinking from top tier: lower reps and heavier weight for mass, lower weight, more reps for toning, flexibility.
Well, repetition range.
Right. So it's the range of repetition that would be ideal for gaining mass. I think that could be 2 to 3. It also could be 6 to 8. I don't know.
I think we should go 6 to 8.
All right. I'll ride with you. 6 to 8. Lock it in. We'll go final A to Z on 6 to 8.
Although the rep range for optimal gains is specific for each person, the people in the know generally recommend 6 to 8 repetitions.
All right. I concede. I overthought it a little bit. Insulin's in my head still. It's still. Yeah, Bork is right. We got insulin wrong. Sam's confidence is shattered. You're right. Yeah, I'm overthinking things now. But hey, we got it right. Process of elimination. Shout out to you, Zach. You helped me get there. So
2 and 1. Here is our fourth and final bodybuilding question. What is the last name of the brothers who operate and run the World Professional Bodybuilding? What is the last name of the brothers who operate and run the World of Professional Bodybuilding?
Oh, my goodness.
Welsh, Schwarzenegger, Wheeler, or Weider? Weider? So what's the last name of the brothers who operate and run the World of Professional Bodybuilding? Welsh, Schwarzenegger. It's not Schwarzenegger.
No.
Wheeler or Wilder.
It's not Wheeler.
It's not Wilder. Welder.
It's Welder.
Welder, Wheeler, or Welsh.
Well, that seems to be that's what chat's saying here. We got David, we got Jay, we got Daff, we got Ed.
What are they saying?
KG, we got Titan. These people are all saying wider, whatever. Sam, Noah. This is the overwhelming answer.
You want to lock it in?
I have no idea, so I'll lock it in as wider.
Ben and Joe Wider run the IFBB.
All right. Well, hey, we got it right. I don't know how do you guys know that? That's my question. Who knows that?
And look, I don't think they Googled. They were pretty quick on that.
No, I know I'm just saying, like, I consider myself to be kind of a trivia guy too, but the brothers that founded the IBFF, I didn't even know it was called the IBFF. That's insane.
All right. We are 3 and 1 going into our final non-sports question, which has to do with Batman. Which of these Bat villains was introduced first?
I'm not going to look at chat. I'm going to try and guess it by myself first, and then I will use chat because I will probably be wrong. So
the Penguin, Catwoman, the Riddler, or Mr. Freeze? Which of these Bat villains was introduced first? The Penguin, Catwoman, the Riddler, or Mr. Freeze? My gut is telling me that it was Penguin.
I think it's Penguin too. That would be, I don't have chat up, so I don't know what they're saying yet, but that would be my gut because I know the Penguin was in like the old school Batman.
This may be talking about the
I'll be
comic
honest,
books.
I've never heard of Mr. Freeze, so I
What?
don't.
Mr. Freeze.
I have no idea who that is.
Arnold, have you ever seen Arnold? Arnold Schwarzenegger is Mr. Freeze.
I can't say I've. This is what I told you. This is a weakness of mine. I'm not super into like superhero stuff. I've never really seen any of the Avengers, Marvel. Like, I will do one movie on occasion, but this is not a strength of mine. This is definitely a blind spot in terms of my pop culture knowledge. My gut is Penguin. I'm gonna open the chat now. We'll see what they're saying. Oh, this is not good. Looks like they're torn. Mr. Jones says Mr. Freeze in all caps. Steven says Penguin. Jared says Mr. Freeze. Sean says Riddler. Orlando says Riddler. Scott says Penguin. Nick says Penguin. Jeff says Penguin. Jarrell says Catwoman. So now we're all over the place. Sam says Riddler. MB says Penguin. And yeah, we're kind of split. Riddler, Penguin. There's Brian with a freeze.
So I think it's Riddler or Penguin.
I mean, this is split down the middle. Riddler or Penguin. Do I go with just my hunch and your hunch and say Penguin?
Let's go. Hey, let's ride.
Let's ride. Hey,
A to Z country, let's ride.
Let's ride. We're going Penguin. Final A to Z. I don't like that face, Zach. I don't like that face.
Well, yeah, because you don't like this answer.
The
Penguin was revealed in 1941. The Riddler.
Long enough ago that should be the right answer.
The Riddler was revealed in 1948.
Okay, well, at least we didn't do that.
Mr. Freeze. 1959.
It's
Catwoman.
Whoa, it's Catwoman
made her first appearance in Batman #1 in spring of 1940.
Wow.
1 year off.
What an upset.
Less than a year.
What an upset. I got to go up and find, hey, chat I'm getting a lot of hate in chat. You guys didn't have Catwoman either.
Yeah, they did have Catwoman.
We had like 1 or 2 people. And yeah, it's not a strength of mine. That was my disclaimer. We're a team here, okay? You guys are acting an awful lot like Stephon Diggs right now.
There you go. Well, look, that was a great round. Unfortunately, we don't go 4-1. We go 3-2. So tough scene there, but we learned a lot. Catwoman, first introduced villain.
The more you know. Won't forget it. That's for sure.
Yep. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and like us on Facebook. Sam, great filling in today. We had a great show today on a Titans Tuesday. We'll be back bright and early on Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Adios.